we need to talk about the ego. Because whether you are experiencing depression, anxiety, a dark night of the soul, or spiritual awakening and ascension, the ego is going to have profound effects on you, and it will be front and center of any of the work that you do. But despite its reputation, the ego is not all bad. In fact, your ego actually has some of the best intentions. But alas, it is true, your ego is oftentimes your own worst enemy if it is allowed to go unchecked and be in control, which for most of us, it is. And that means it has the power to make you depressed, anxious, feel hopeless, powerless, lost, and it can and will hold you back from reaching your full potential due to the fear that it generally instills in us. So if you are wondering what the ego is, what kind of power it has in your life, and what you can do about it, you are in the right place, because that is exactly what this video is all about. My name is Sarahdawn. I'm writing books and making videos and putting out content for highly sensitive spiritual beings who are likely to experience things like depression, anxiety, and neurodiversity as part of their life's path and soul's mission. It is my mission to help you understand yourself, your life path, and the power you have to live a fulfilling and joyful life as your authentic self. So you want to heal your ego and begin to seeing and understanding the world and your spiritual journey from a healthy perspective. You want to awaken, be enlightened, talk to angels, ascend to the fifth dimension, and manifest all the things you need and desire with the law of attraction. You want to be happy, but you know your ego keeps getting in the way. It's holding you back, whispering all your fears into your ear, and when you don't listen, it yells them out to you. Or perhaps the concept of the ego is new to you, and you're just now learning that it has this power in our lives, and it is possibly what is at the basis of your negative patterns, your depression, your anxiety, your lack of self-confidence, and why your life is not quite what you want it to be. And you want to figure out how to deal with it, or even how to get rid of it. And either way, if you want to have a healthy ego, one that does not hold you back so much or make you depressed and hopeless, you really need to understand what it is. Once you have a good idea of what you're dealing with, then we can talk about how to heal it, which is not really as straightforward as one would actually hope it would be. But stick with me here, because there are actually ways to make it all a bit more manageable, and I will talk about that after we go over what the ego is. So let's start at the beginning. What is the ego? The ego is a crude and limited conception of self. It's a concept that we have that encompasses our physical view of ourselves. It's that part of you that feels like you, the voice that you hear in your head. It's the being that you are here on this earth that is separate and unique from anyone else. And it feels like it exists within you. It's in your head, like it's your brain, it's your mind, it's that part of you that you feel exists within you. So it's me, it's who I am, it is my consciousness. And what you're identifying with right now as I am talking about all this, that voice that you're hearing that's telling you what feels like what I am saying, that is your ego right there. So it has been developed and created throughout your entire life. It is made up of all your past experiences, what you were told about yourself, what you came to believe about yourself based on your experiences, and what people may have told you over your lifetime. It's our neural pathways, the connections and patterns that we have formed over our lifetime that make us who we are in this physical life right now. All of it creates the concept of the ego, which in turn determines how we see, understand, and know ourselves. So when the ego is healthy, it is actually a very good thing to have to help us manage and get through this physical life, especially before we have awakened or know of spirit and of our authentic selves. In its healthy state, the ego is a guide through this 3D reality. It's your protector. the identifier of red flags, bad situations, and things that may hurt you in some way. It is what makes you stop and think before you jump into situations that could end up being disastrous otherwise. And it can help keep us grounded and focused and to see what we need to see in the physical world. I mean, over your entire lifetime, it has taken inventory. It's observed and experienced everything. It has determined patterns and behaviors that have worked or not worked, that have occurred throughout your entire lifetime, and it can basically predict what is going to happen and how we need to respond to it. So it keeps us safe, it keeps us focused and on task. And the ego is also your willpower. Whenever you talk yourself through something, make yourself do something by sheer will, that is your ego doing the work. Your ego is what is making you do it, what's talking you through it and getting you motivated to do the hard work. So in a healthy state, it really helps us through this maze of living in the 3D. It is the voice that will convince you to step out of your comfort zone and take calculated risks. It is good at predicting and seeing patterns. So it can identify which risks are likely to pay off, and it will provide you the motivation to go through with it. However, it's when we have an unhealthy ego, that's when we run into problems. And since this happens to so many people, this is also where the ego gets its bad reputation from. And let's face it, most of us, especially earth angels and other highly sensitive spiritual beings with a special mission, have had a lot of experiences that have led us to develop a very unhealthy ego, and with it, unhealthy expectations of life. This happens because our paths are difficult, and they're difficult so that it can lead us towards our potential and towards fulfilling our spiritual mission. But it creates an unhealthy ego in the meantime that has to be dealt with before you can ascend and come fully into your purpose. This human side of you has to take a back seat so that you can get to know your true and authentic self. So after years of trauma, crisis, and negative experiences, the ego becomes overprotective. You've been through enough. The ego is there to protect you and keep you from getting hurt. An unhealthy ego is then seeing red flags everywhere and with everything. Nothing is safe, and you need to hold back and basically just stay away from it all. A healthy ego does this in moderation, but an unhealthy ego goes to the extreme and goes overboard with it. It becomes ruled by fear and anxiety, and these feelings hold us back in order to keep us safe and protected, to keep us far, far away from making any mistakes or from making things worse. So feelings of being defeated, hopeless, helpless, weak, and worthless will emerge. You may then isolate yourself and ruminate as negative thoughts and memories begin to come up for you, supporting all of those feelings and thoughts that you're having. All of this is holding you back from being able to move forward because you are fully consumed by a fear-based consciousness, and you're all alone, feeling all alone and isolated within yourself as this ego that is within you, all alone, unique and separate from everyone else. You feel completely stuck, all alone in that physical body, feeling worthless and helpless. So you will notice that you tend to retreat or isolate or shy away from new experiences and opportunities, and you lack confidence. Overall, with an unhealthy ego, you tend to feel stuck and just can't see the light or the way forward. So here's what you need to know about the ego. The ego is an illusion because the ego does not actually exist. It's just a concept to describe the voice that we have in our heads and what it feels like to be conscious, to be a human being. And the ego is a lie. It's an illusion. It's not you. It feels like you, but it's not you. It does not define you. It does not always tell you the truth. And although it does exist as part of the reality that we know and experience, and it has developed to protect you, it is purely physical. It's part of the physical world, and it's only a very small part of you. And it feels big because you identify with it as being you and who you are, but it really is only a small part of you. We are whole beings. We're not just this voice inside of our head or this belief that we have inside of our head. We're not complete without our bodies. We can't live without our bodies, without our internal organs, without a heart or a brain. We don't live. We're not alive without it, right? The ego experiences itself as this separate entity all by itself existing within you. And it's distinct and separate from everything else. And this creates a consciousness of separateness, a separateness from others, separateness from even your own body parts. So this is my nose, right? But I'm not my nose. My nose is not me. Yet, that's what the ego says. Yet, you are your nose. Your nose is you. It's part of the whole you as one symbiotic organism that flows and works together to create what is you. And it's important to go even beyond that, beyond just your physical body, because you're also part of your environment. Everything around you, you coexist with your environment. You do not exist without it, as you're operating within the environment and you're interacting with it. As Alan Watts explains, using the idea of a bee and a flower, right? So we have a bee and a flower, and we see them as separate beings. They're different. They look different. They act different. They move around separately. But that flower doesn't exist without that bee. And that bee doesn't exist without the flower. They need each other to exist. So they coexist. So they become one unit, one organism that works and operates together. And that is what we are too with our environment. We are connected and part of the earth. All of the animals, everything in existence, we're connected and part of the bigger whole. The ego makes us feel alone in this one single body, but that body does not exist without the environment. We cannot live without the earth, without the animals, without the plants and the water. We are not separate from this planet or anything upon it. We are all part of the whole organism. Just take that in for a minute. Just think about that connection and how amazing it feels thinking about being one with this entire earth. And going even further, the earth is part of the cosmos. We are made up of the same material as the stars. We are then part of the universe, the ultimate energy that creates and makes up and flows through the universe, flows through us, it flows through everything. The universe does not exist without this energy, which means the earth does not exist without this energy, and we do not exist without this energy. We are connected by energy, as are all of the other dimensions, realities, and beings, angels, spirits, beings from other planets, all connected as one big organism operating in really perfect harmony and coexistence so that everything may exist in the way that it does. You are not a consciousness just within your head or within your body. You are a consciousness that is whole and complete, existing outside of your body and encompassing anything and all things in existence, going all the way back to source. What is left is source energy, or what I call God, the creator of all things, the source of all that energy, of the planets, of the stars, of the cosmos, of this planet Earth, of the atmosphere. that it takes for us to survive here, of the perfect distance from this perfect star rotating at the perfect speed for life to exist, for us to exist. Just think about that for a moment. Let go of your concept of self, even just for a second right now, and feel your connection with the universe as a being on the earth, within the cosmos, within it all. Feel your connection to source, to God. So of course, what I'm talking about here is interconnectedness, or another word for it is God force energy. But the point is that our ego feels separate and trapped within this physical body that we have. It feels alone, like it's completely on its own, it has to do everything on its own. But this is a concept, it is an illusion that you have of yourself. So how can you fix or heal the ego? That's the question, right? As we get through all this, how do we fix it? It causes problems. What can we do? Well, the answer is that you can't. You cannot fix your ego. You cannot heal your ego. There's nothing I can tell you to do to make it happen, because the simple act of even trying to heal your ego is using your will to make it happen. And your will is your ego. And you just can't use the ego itself to heal or get rid of the ego. And by nature of the ego, the harder you try to heal your ego or fix your ego or get rid of your ego, the more into your ego you're going to be, the worse you're actually going to make the problem. For example, what would have your ego is going to worry is if you're making any progress. It's going to have that fear and anxiety and doubt about everything. Am I actually making progress? Is this actually working? And then it's going to start worrying about what it should do next. And then it's going to worry about that and worry about that and worry about that. Gradually going deeper and deeper into this cycle of ego fear-based consciousness. So the choice we have is to let go of control. The ego wants to be in control. It wants to know, to understand. It wants to possess and have things. It wants things to be its own and to have control over that. It longs for things. It desires, it wants, it needs. And the alternative to that is our soul, or our higher self, which is a consciousness of connectedness. Your soul is what feels its connection to all of that stuff, all of the universe, to source energy. And it is simply peace. It's joy, contentment, enjoyment, love. So in order to tap into your higher self, or into that soul consciousness, which isn't worried about the past, it's not worried about the future, because it has faith. The knowing it has is beyond that kind of worry that the ego gets stuck in. It believes, it knows, and it enjoys the journey. In order to tap into that, you need to practice mindfulness. Being present with each moment right now is all that exists. The past, the future, your thoughts and feelings, it's all an illusion. Just like the ego itself, it's not real. It's a projection that your ego itself is actually projecting onto the reality around you. You can't control what's going to happen in the future. You just can't control that. You can't change or alter the past. It's already happened. It's done. It is what it is. But you do have control over right now. This moment, you have control. You can choose what to do, what to focus on, how to respond to whatever is going on around you. Right now, you have the choice of how you want to interact with the environment that you are currently in. Right now is all within your power. The rest, where we tend to try to live, where the ego tries to direct us to think and to try to control, doesn't even exist. The past, the future does not exist. You can't live in it. We can't impact it. We can't do anything about it. So of course, we feel like we don't have any control or power when we try. So when it comes to the ego, you want to practice detached acceptance. Your ego is going to talk to you. It's going to direct you, and it will make you think about things and feel things that are sometimes good for you and even helpful, but most often are not. So don't resist it. We all know that resistance just breeds persistence, right? That which you resist persists. So that's not going to work. Listen to your ego and thank it for its input, but don't let its fear-based ideas pull you in and take control of you. You accept the ego as part of your physical existence, but stay as detached from it as possible. It's not you, so don't let it consume you. So a powerful way to help you do this is to attach your thoughts and those feelings that you have to your breath. So as you breathe, your breathing thoughts in, or just they may randomly come, whatever they may be, you're just breathing them in. But then in that moment, you have the choice and the opportunity to also breathe them out. And you can intentionally breathe them out as part of your mindfulness practice. And you'll notice that the breaths come to you. But you take the choice and just breathe them out. You let them go through your breath and you come back into the moment and embrace your mindfulness practice. So as you awaken and ascend along your spiritual journey, you'll begin to experience what is called an ego death. And that is simply letting go of the illusion and embracing yourself as a whole being who is connected and complete and part of source energy. It's embracing and becoming your authentic self and being more in touch with your soul, with your higher self. You will really begin this process of this ego death when you start doing shadow work. So much of what is in your shadow exists because your ego is choosing to keep it there. It wants it to be there and stay there. It doesn't want to face it. So join me in the next video because that's where I'm going to talk about what the shadow side is. And in future videos, I'll talk more about doing shadow work and some tips and tricks on how to get through shadow work and make that work a little bit faster. So there you have it. That is what the ego is. That is what the ego is not. And there are some things that you can do and try to help release some of the power and the control that it has in your life. It's not necessarily an easy process. It takes time. Often, it can take several lifetimes even. So don't rush this process. It's okay. Just breathe and just be. You can do this. You can always ask your angels and your guides to help you with any of this too. Check out some of my videos that I've done about connecting with, talking to, and hearing your angels. Or you might be interested in my books about angel numbers that I have. They're available on Amazon. And they go over how you can use angel numbers to connect with the angels on a deeper level. There are links in the description down below that can help with all of that and more. So please consider subscribing and leave a like if you found this video helpful. And as always, I am sending a ton of love and blessings to you all. And I hope you know how wonderful, amazing, and important you are. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.